Hi everyone, Mythony Grain Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of the new Lil Peep compilation, Everybody's Everything. This is a new compilation of songs from Lil Peep, which has pretty much been released in tandem with a documentary film about the late rapper and singer's life and rise through the music industry. I went into this new and old mix of tracks pretty skeptically because in most cases I think the music industry releasing music posthumously from a popular artist, especially when those tracks are just odds and ends, that can be pretty exploitative. For me, it needs to be clear that those releasing the music took the utmost care in maintaining the image and legacy and the aesthetic of the artist that they're dropping music from. The released material should be flattering, not subpar or embarrassing. And even though there are some tracks on this comp that I would say are subpar and mediocre, I still read the whole compilation and documentary rollout as being pretty genuine as well as tasteful. At least this collection of tracks is being released as a compilation, which fans again know is posthumous, so they can expect at least some of the material here to be rough around the edges. This whole thing could very well be a mixed bag. The fact that it's been paired with a documentary just enhances this feeling that the release of this material feels like it's just meant to expose some of the uncovered corners of Peep's musical mind. So we have an hour of material here spread out amongst 19 tracks, and the quality and the sound of these songs kind of varies. Some tracks on this compilation are well produced and feature complete structures as well as robust hooks and verses from Peep. Like with the track Moving On, it's simple and steady, and effective trap beat pairs very well with the sad acoustic guitar passages. This song also features one of Peep's most impassioned vocal performances ever. It's hard-hitting, it's tragic, and a very welcome change of pace from the more comatose vocal performances on Peep's previous stuff. It seems an equal amount of care went into tracks like Belgium and When I Lie, tracks that essentially make up the also posthumously released Goth Angel Sinner EP. Live Forever, Ghost Boy, and Keep My Cool make for a trio of highlights as well. The first two see Peep dabbling in a bit of very dreary cloud rap with tons of reverb, making these tracks feel very pillowy, very dreamy, taking a bit of the edge off of the incredibly depressing blend of punk and trap and emo that Peep was known for. And Keep My Cool sees Peep on what sounds like kind of an old school classic Memphis sound. His eccentric delivery and flow, the weird, somewhat lo-fi synths on this track, also the ghostly groans occurring in the background, the atmosphere as well. It's a spooky flex. Easily one of my favorite tracks here, and a direction I would have been excited to hear Peep go into if he were still around. And as long as we're talking weird surprises and highlights on this compilation, we have I've Been Waiting with I Love McConan, which maybe some of you are saying, yeah, I've heard that track, the Fall Out Boy track, I've heard that single. No, this is the non-Fall Out Boy original version of the song, which sounds vastly different. For one, the beat is a lot cuter. It is not nearly as glossed up or overproduced, which is quite nice. And the vocal qualities of the song are a lot different too, with Peep's and McConan's vocals overlapping quite a bit. It's almost as if they are doing a bit of a duet here. Now, don't get me wrong, the singing on this track is not the best. In fact, I would say at some points it's kind of bad. But what's happening on this track is so unlikely a sound and a style for Peep and McConan. I guess it's fun to hear them just so out of their element, especially it seems like vocally they're in a competition to see who can ham the song up the most. So even as someone who historically has not really been a Peep fan at all, there are definitely highlights on this record that I respect and also enjoy. But then again, there are tracks on this compilation that are really rough around the edges, not super well executed, or Peep even sounds scarce on his own song. Mostly with the track Ratchets featuring Lil Tracy, where Peep, his only contribution to this track is really just the refrain, the hook. The bulk of the song is really handled by Tracy, and unless you're a Tracy fan, I guess it's fine if you enjoy what Peep's cohorts and the goth boy clique offer, but I don't know, to my ears it's very clear that the talent gap between Peep and any member of the clique is about as wide as the English Channel. Though still, I respect the decision to have people on here like Tracy because it's It's certainly more tasteful than just grabbing a bunch of random-ass rappers that Peep didn't work with, that Peep didn't have any connection to. Still, having said that, nearly every Gabe feature on this comp is a shade of terrible. His voice is unbearably nasal and whiny. He sounds like the former singer of a long-forgotten emo pop band out of the 2000s. He really weighs some of these tracks down despite the hooks to LA to London or Rockstars being so good. And all the Lil Tracy features on the back end of the compilation I'm not that crazy about either. Especially on White Tea, which generally to my ears just seems like a waste of a Postal Service sample. So despite my compliments and admiration for how this compilation and documentary were so tastefully rolled out, there are tracks on here that are obviously flawed, not all that complete. It's also dogged a little bit by the general subpar singing and lyricism that I've never been too crazy about in Peep's previous stuff. Though I will say the fetishization of depression and addiction seems to have been toned down a little bit on at least some of this material, and I like that a lot. Overall, this thing's not a terrible compilation. I liked quite a few tracks on it. Even some of my favorite Peep songs land on this collection of tracks, which is a phrase that I never thought I would hear myself say. But there are quite a few duds in the track list too. I'm feeling a strong 5 on this compilation, indifferent toward it on a whole. I'm not super crazy about it. I don't think it's bad either. However, I still would recommend listening to it, even if you're casually a fan of Lil Peep or things that sound like Lil Peep, if not only for the highlights that are on this thing. Transition, have you given this compilation a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Lil Peep, forever.